Hi, and welcome to this video about augmented reality and video playback using Vuforia and Unity. What I would like to demonstrate today is a setup like this, where you have an image target that triggers video with alpha channel content that has a certain amount of transparency in it. I won't really go into the details of how to create a video with alpha channel, but please go to the descriptions of this video and follow the link that I posted there if you're interested in how to use Adobe Premiere in order to create such a video. And then in the second part of this tutorial, I would also like to show you how to create another example of augmented reality with video and image targets that includes a more traditional video file with some other graphic content as well, such as a PNG image that I incorporated in that example. So let's switch to the screen view and get started with the workshop. All right, I begin my workshop with the project folder that we're going to use today. And this is actually from the link that I downloaded from the description of this YouTube video. You can download this as well, and then you already have some files to start working with. But before we go over these files and we start working with them, I would like to start in a web browser, and I would like to take a look at the Vuforia Image Target Database, and then later on also my license key for the AR camera that I want to set up for this project. So go to developer.vuforia.com and then log in with your account credentials. You can then go to the Develop tab and check your target manager. If you don't have any image target databases in there, you can create a new database by hit the Add Database button. And then once you have created a database, you can start filling it with images. I would like to use the AR video database that I already set up, and there's, as you can see, there's already one image in there, the Jackson Pollock Echo number 25 painting. I would like to add another image to that, so I would just simply go to Add Target. I would like to add a single image and then browse and go to the file in my AR video folder, the project folder for today. I choose the POW crosswalk.jpg image, open this, put 1 in for width. We'll later on establish kind of a proportional relationship between the image target and then the content that it triggers in Unity. 1 is actually fine for now. And then we keep the name of Power Crosswalk and we just add that to the image target database. It is actually still processing right now, so it doesn't give me a preview of how reliable it is for tracking or for being detected by Vuforia. But you can see with the image that I already uploaded here, 5-star is of course a really nice rating that you would get for your images. There's also a link in the description for this video that points you to a resource from Vuforia that talks more about how to create reliable and stable image targets for an application such as this. So we would need to download the database then. Click on Download Database, and we do want to download it for the Unity editor because this is the program that we want to continue working with in the next step. So make sure that you check Unity editor here, hit the download link, and then this will go into your downloads folder, and I would actually take it from there. Save file here, take it from your downloads folder once it is downloaded. See where it is right now, and then drag and drop this into your project folder as well. So this is the AR video database Unity package that we will need in Unity in just 1 second. So I copy and paste this over, and then I am ready to start Unity. So I go into the Unity Hub and start that first, and I'm working in Unity 2019.3, so if you take a look at your installs, I don't work in any of the beta or early testing versions. This was the last stable release that I just downloaded today, and so I'm working in that version. If you do that, make sure that you double check in your modules, especially if you're developing for Android, that you have the Android build support selected. You don't necessarily need that package if you're working for iOS deployment later on, But if you're working with your Android phone or your Android mobile device, make sure that you have both the Android SDK and NDK tools selected here and the OpenJDK. If you don't have that, you can easily install it from the install section of your Unity Hub, and then it is much easier to export your project for Android deployment later on. So for now, I want to go into projects and I want to create a new project in the latest Unity editor, so 2019.3. And I give this a name, so AR_video test, for example. I do want to save this in the desktop folder. It's called AR Video, my project folder for today. So I select this folder and I need to make sure that it is a 3D project. So create that and then wait for the Unity editor to initialize. And then in Unity, I need to make sure that I have my Vuforia capability installed. So now this used to ship natively with the previous installs of Unity. So the early versions of 2019, the 2018 versions, 2017, but it is no longer part of the default install. So what we have to do, so previously you would just go to Game Object and then you would find your Vuforia game objects in here. They're no longer there. So what we would have to do is we have to go to the Asset Store and we have to download and install Vuforia for this project specifically. So make sure once you're in the Asset Store that you're logged in, and then you just search for assets. So you type in Vuforia, and then we actually don't want the core samples. These are great if you want to look at all the different possibilities of what you can do with Vuforia. So there's some great example code in there and some example workflows of how to work with object targets, for example. I got, for example, the scripts that I'm using today by looking through the Vuforia core samples and see how they worked with video and video embedding into AR projects. So, but what we want today, we actually want the Vuforia engine. So we click on that, and then we need to import this. All right, import. We install and upgrade our version of this project. And then say import to all of these assets. Yes, we do want to update. So this process can actually take a few minutes, so just be patient. It's just finished for me, and so now what I can do is I can go back to my scene, and if I go back to Game Object, the Game Object menu, I see that I have my Vuforia engine capabilities now built into my project. And this is great because the first thing we need to do is we need to insert an AR camera into our scene. Start out with that, and this is just a standard workflow that we also used in the very basic introductory workshop to Vuforia and Unity. With this camera I can already position it so that it's slightly up from the ground, so possibly 2 units up, and then I rotate it around the x-axis so it's pointing down. And then the next thing that I need to do is I need to actually get the license key from Vuforia and put that into my AR camera. So I make sure that AR camera is selected in my scene hierarchy. And I go to the Vuforia behavior script, open the Vuforia engine configuration in here. And then I go over to my web browser, make sure that I just lost my Vuforia developer connection here, so I'll just make sure that I go back there, go to develop, and then I go to my license manager and I choose the Unity AR video playback license key. So copy that from here and then paste it in there. We don't need to hit a return key or anything. Just pasting it in there is fine. And what you also might want to do, since you're in the AR camera settings already, you may want to uncheck the track device pose here. This is just if you're having some problems losing the tracking on your object and your AR content still hovering in the scene and not going away, for example. This is because of the extended tracking functionality of Vuforia and Unity. So sometimes this is actually a desirable effect. You can keep tracking an image target even if it leaves the frame of reference or it leaves the camera image of your mobile device, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying because it can leave some AR content unresolved and just hovering in your scene where you actually want to have it removed. So if this is a problem, just uncheck the track device pose box right here. So this is the AR camera, and the next thing that we need to insert in here is actually an image target, and we also get that from the game object menu. And go to Vuforia Engine, Image Target, and we can make sure it's actually right now, since I had the AR camera selected, it's already a child of the AR camera. I don't want that actually, so I just move it up here a little bit that it sits in the hierarchy just by itself, and that also allows me to move it to the origin again, and I actually don't want to rotate it. It was rotated automatically as being part of the AR camera branch here. So I just shouldn't need to change anything here, but since it was attached to the AR camera as a child, I forgot to or deselect the AR camera, then I just quickly separated it out. So the next thing what I can do is I can get my image target database into my project, and I'll do that by going to Assets and say Import Package, Custom Package. And now I need to choose the image target database package that I just downloaded a few minutes ago from the Vuforia developers website. It's in my AR video folder, AR video database Unity package. So I open this, and you see here are already my two images for the image targets in there, the Jackson Pollock painting and then also the power crosswalk photo that I took. Import those. And now I need to establish a connection between the images in this database and the image target that I have inserted into my scene, which is actually right here if I zoom in just a little bit more. So I click on image target, and then in the image target behavior script where it says type, I say from database. I can choose the database that I just imported as an asset, and then I can choose the very specific image that I want to use. And so in this case I start with the Jackson Pollock painting. In the second example I will use the power crosswalk image as well, so to show you that you can have actually two different image targets in your scene and then attach different videos to each of them, for example. So this is now a good moment where we can just try things out a little bit. So rather than immediately incorporating a video, I just want to make sure that I can actually just trigger any kind of content that my image target is being recognized, and I can trigger any kind of augmented content such as, for example, a 3D cube. So I go to Game Object, 3D Object Cube. I scale this down just a little bit, 0.25. 0.25 and 0.25, and then just raise this up a little bit, and this would be now the first game object that I want to trigger, just to make sure that my image target is working, that my AR camera is set up correctly, and that I can actually work with this scene in the way that I expect it to work. So the last thing I need to do is I need to make that cube a child of the image target. So I just drag and drop it in the hierarchy window onto the image target so that it's now a child. It's actually indented and attached to the image target. And that should be all that I need to do. I can save my scene first. So I just say save as, and then save this as video AR scene, for example, and then I can test it out, and I hit the play button and see what I'm getting. Alright, so here's my image target, and here is the cube. I can already rotate it. This seems to be working really nicely. As soon as the tracking is lost, I also lose my cube. So this is exactly the behavior that I also want to replicate in just 1 minute with my video file, so that whenever the image target is being detected, I can pull up the video file, it starts playing. Whenever the tracking is lost, then the video file disappears and is being paused, so that the next time the image is being detected, the image target, I can resume the playback at exactly the same location where I left off in the previous iteration of my image detection. So that means I can get rid of my cube. It has fulfilled its purpose, and it has shown me that the initial setup of my scene is working. So I control click or right click on that cube and I just say delete, takes it away. And now I bring in a kind of a placeholder for my video, and this placeholder, or this 3D object that I use in order to attach my video to, is actually called a quad, and I get this from game object, 3D objects, and quad right here. So I insert this into the scene, and this is now very important. The scale of this quad game object needs to be the same as the scale of my video. And as you remember, you have possibly 16:9 video footage, or you may also have 4:3 video footage. So the dimensions, the relationship between height and width of this quad needs to mirror the dimensions and the proportional relationship of your height and width of your video. So in my case, I know that the first video, the one with the alpha channel that I want to bring in, is 16:9 footage. So it's 640 by 360 pixels, which means that the scale could either say 1.6, for example, and 0.9 to approximate the 16:9 ratio, or you can have any other proportional relationship that also relates the same way the height and the width to each other. You don't need to worry about the Z dimension, since a quad, even though it is in the 3D game object category, is basically a flat 2D surface that I can attach textures and videos to in this example. I can also then just rotate here a little bit and make sure that it actually sits on my image target correctly, and it may be just a little bit too big, so I probably half these dimensions here, so go to 0.45, and then I know that I have to go up by 0.225 so that it sits directly on my image target here. All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need to bring in the video that I want to play on this quad game object. And I do this by going to Assets, Import Package, Import New Asset. And then I go back to my desktop, my project folder, AR video, and I choose, in this case, the umbrella loop alpha video. So I import this video, and what I have to do is I have to look into the inspector, and I have to what is called transcode the video so that I can make sure it plays correctly on a variety of different mobile devices, from iOS devices to Android devices to possibly standalone platforms as well. And this is now a little bit more tricky, because here I need to transcode in such a way that specifically the alpha channel is kept in this whole process of transcoding it, so I keep my transparency. And what I need to do is I first need to, of course, say keep alpha, and this is just for standalone. So what we need to do now is we need to go to all the different other settings in here. So iOS, for example, we need to override these settings for the iPhone. Yes, we want to transcode. It still keeps the alpha channel because I have checked this originally. So the codec for iOS devices actually needs to be H.264. So I need to make sure to set this. Since my video is only of medium size, I choose a medium quality and then a medium spatial quality here as well. This will help a little bit with the bandwidth and with the responsiveness of your app that you develop later on, so that there isn't too much of a lag when an image target is being detected and it needs to load this video. So you can experiment here a little bit with different video sizes, rendering these out in Premiere, and also with different bitrate modes and spatial quality settings in Unity. Then I do the same for Android settings. I want to override for Android as well. Transcode this, keep the original size. The codec needs to be VP8, and the bitrate mode is medium, and then the spatial quality is also medium. I need to apply these settings, so I hit the apply button right here. This takes just a second, and it's converting the video file. So in the next step, you actually do want to take the video from your asset window or the asset tab in your project window and make it part of the quad. So you simply drag and drop it onto the quad. This is right here. And you also need to create a material that actually maintains the alpha channel, maintains the transparency of your background in here. So let's do this next so that the video also shows up correctly on here. Go to Assets, Create, and we want to create a new material. Possibly call this Video Material. And then go into the Video Material section in the inspector, use as the shader a particle shader, the standard unlit particle shader. The rendering mode needs to be transparent or cut out, either one would work here. And then if you want the video to play on both sides of the quad, so if you walk around or if you rotate your image target, that all of a sudden the video isn't disappearing, but it's basically showing on both sides of that quad game object, you need to check two-sided here as well. And then you simply take this new material and you also drag and drop it onto the quad like this. So we're almost there. We also need to do a few more things in regards to the playback of the video, in terms of the sound playback of the video, but also in terms of the actual image playback of the video. So we can do that by navigating to the quad game object in my scene hierarchy window, and in the video player component that was attached automatically to the quad by just dragging and dropping the video onto it, need to say uncheck the play on awake and possibly check the loop button here as well. We also want to wait for the first frame, want to leave this checked as well. And loop, of course, is optional. If you want to have your video play only once, you would leave the loop unchecked. If you check the loop function, it will play continuously for as long as the image target is being detected. All right. And then we also need to add another component to this quad, which will take care of your sound playback for the video. And this will be an audio player. So if you, it's an audio source. So if you type in audio and then go to audio source, you have this new component added on to the quad. So make sure that, of course, quad is selected and that you're actually working in the inspector with the settings of the quad object. And then with the audio source, you just have to go and make sure to also loop that if your video is being looped, because otherwise you lose the sound after the first iteration of the video. Finally, we need to go to the video player component's audio output mode, and we need to change this from direct to audio source. And then the actual audio source needs to be the quad itself. So we just drag and drop this from the hierarchy window onto that field where it says audio source. And now we're almost there. I can almost test this out. The one thing I still haven't done is I also need to make that quad a child of the image target. So I drag and drop this onto the image target, and now it should work all right. Just see one thing that I forgot the first time I played the scene, and I quickly wanted to take care of that, is that we have actually two cameras in there. We have an AR camera right now that simulates the behavior of our mobile device looking at the scene, and we still have the main camera in here as well, and sometimes this can lead to some conflicts. So I just simply delete the main camera. I control click or right click on it and then just say delete and get rid of this as well. So we should be all set now to test this out. I make sure that my sound is cranked up a little bit so that I hear that hopefully as well. And then save this scene one more time, file, save. And then I can already play this back and see that, or see if it works. All right, so it's not working. And this has to do with the fact that I haven't attached the proper video playback scripts to both the image target and the quad object as well. So very important, I almost forgot about this. Need to go and import these two scripts, and they're in the sample folder or the examples folder that I downloaded for this project today. So we go to Assets, Import New Asset, and then we choose both the VideoController.cs and the VideoTrackableEventHandler.cs script. Import both of these. And now I need to apply these scripts in the following order. I take the VideoController script and I apply this to the quad. And then I go to the image target, and you see that it already has a script attached to it that takes care of Vuforia's image detection or image target detection behavior. And so we need to delete this script from the image target. So go to the little three dots on the right hand side of the script's name, and we just say remove component, and then we replace this component with the VideoTrackableEventHandler script. Drag and drop that onto image target so that it replaces the default TrackableEventHandler script. This actually extends, or it overrides certain parts of the default trackable event handler script that takes specifically care of the video playback, so that we actually pause. So you can see here the video when the tracking is lost, and that we play the video when the tracking is gained again. You can experiment a little bit with this behavior because these are just two functions that you can use. You could also stop the video rather than pausing it. You could have a counter, and maybe only every other time an image target is being detected, it will play the video again. So you can really extend the functionality of this script as well, if you like, if you want to get a little bit into the programming of it. But for now, let's just try it out and see if it works. So play this again. And here we go. Yeah, this looks better already. All right. And I can slowly even turn this, and you see that we should be able to see it from the front and from the back. So that's very nice. And whenever the tracking is being lost, I also lose the video. The next time the tracking is there again, it continues to play back the video at exactly the same scene where it left off before. All right, perfect. So this would be to show you how to incorporate one video and one image target. Let's add another image target and another type of video that is possibly a little bit more straightforward. It doesn't work with alpha channels, so it'll be just a solid video that plays on the image target. I also wanted to show you how then you can add other things to your image target. For example, if you wanted to trigger both video and maybe an image at the same time. So let's set up the second image target into the scene. And first what I want to do is I want to move my first image target and the quad object just a little bit to the side so that we have a little bit more space for the second image target. So I just select image target here. Since the quad is a child of the image target, when I move one, it moves the other as well. And you see how it updates the position property here as well. So you could also type in any kind of value you like if you want to position things more straightforward, kind of integer increments in your scene. So I want to add another image target and then another video, and then possibly even a still image object that is being triggered when this next image target is being detected. So I go to a game object, Vuforia engine, image target, It puts the image target in my scene, and then of course what I want to do is I want to select the second image target that should become the texture of this one. So where it says type, when I select my image target in the hierarchy window, where it says type in the inspector, I would like to change this to from database. I want to change this to AR video database, and then I want to use the AR image target for the power crosswalk. I move this out of the way again a little bit, and then I also create another game object that is a quad again, so a 3D object quad, and this is the same procedure as before. Move this over as well so I can check my transforms here. So the position is minus 0.5 possibly for my image target, and then for my quad I would like to do the same thing so that they line up accordingly. And then this one is going to be a 4:3 image target. So I choose for the X dimension 0.8, and for the Y dimension I choose 0.6. And I also want to rotate this. So I rotate it around the X-axis 90 degrees so it sits flat on top of the image target. I import my second video, so I go to Assets, Import New Asset, and this is the Lincoln 01 MPEG-4 video file. Import this, and then I simply drag and drop this onto the quad, so it becomes a video component of the quad. So if I click on the quad, you should see that video player component in here. I need to make sure that I have an audio source as well. So I add the audio source component to that. Again, I typed in audio. I actually remembered that from before, and then it shows me all the audio components that are available. So I go to audio source, and then need to make sure that I want to loop this, and the same I want to do with the video. I want to loop it. Don't want to play it on awake because I want to trigger it with a script later on. And I need to set the audio output mode of the video player to my audio source again, and then drag and drop this quad on here as the actual audio source. Good. Then I make the quad a child of the image target, and now it's probably a good idea to rename these two here a little bit, because otherwise they look exactly the same. So this would be, for example, if I control click or right click on there and say rename, the first image target is maybe my Lincoln image target, and then this image target here, the previous one, if I rename this, is my umbrella, caps umbrella image target. So now I can kind of also keep them apart by using different names. Yes, and then I just need to apply my scripts again. So I select the quad, and I need the video controller script attached to that. Drag and drop this. Oops, didn't stick. Drag and drop this on here. So if you want to be 100% sure that a script has been attached to a game object, just click on that and then go to the inspector, and it should actually show up in this list right here. So I see the video controller script in there. And then I also need to remove the default trackable event handler script from the image target. So remove that, click on the three little dots here, say remove component, and then replace this with the VideoTrackableEventHandler script. Also make sure that this has been applied so it shows up in here. Yes. So now I should be able to test it out. So play this. Get my other image target ready here. All right.
You know, Ann, if
there
anything happened to you, I don't think I could live. You know, Ann, if anything happened...
All right. What you can see here is I use the standard shader, and it is actually responsive to the overall light in your scene, which is actually this directional light that we haven't taken a look at. But this pretty much determines which part of that surface area of the video is actually highlighted You may actually want to just see that it's sitting really flush with the area here. You may want to move this up a little bit. So if you want to change a position of a video component or a media component that is already attached to an image target later on, just detach it for a second, then go to its transform properties. And so I just want to raise it slightly, so probably 0.01, and then attach it, reattach it later on again, make it a child again. So what I wanted to talk about is actually that the lighting has, if you use a standard shader, the lighting has quite a bit an impact on how this video is being rendered, and that it could actually, depending on the angle that you're holding your image target at, could actually be rather black, or it could be a little bit hard to see. So in order to avoid that, you can actually go back and you can use your video material shader again. Let's just give this a try, because this is an unlit particle shader. So we play this and then see what this will do.
You know,
Yeah, and so this looks much better, and we don't get any kind of shading or shadows, even at kind of extreme angles of this video. So it's gone, we lose our tracking, and it's back, and it plays. It continues to play at exactly the same place where it left off before.
I don't think I could live. You know, and
all right, good. And then if you want to keep going, you can of course add more components to your image targets. So you can go say, I want to add to this image target, the Lincoln image target, I want to add another quad to that. So 3D object quad. And for example, you want to attach a still image to that. So you could go to your assets, import a new asset, and I have this this PNG arrow image. It's on a transparent background. You could actually take this and then apply that to this quad. Again, I want to make sure that it's actually proportionally correct, and so I see my pixel size of this image is 980 by 626 pixels. So I put this in the file name for the image, so I later on remember this when it comes in handy, so such as now. So what I need to do is I need to make that quad reflect this size of the image, or the image proportions that I have. So I say 0.98 for the 980 pixels, and then 0.62, and I think it was 6 for the height. And so it approximates a little bit more like a widescreen format here as well. Can somewhat you know, align it with your image target here. Probably need to move it up a little bit. Something like that. And then I simply drag and drop that arrow onto this quad. And I can choose, again, I think I can just choose my video material. No, in this case I actually don't. I create another material because I had some problems with the transparency for a PNG image in the past. So what I do is I create a new material for the transparency for the still image. So asset, create material, and I name this image material, for example. Again, I choose my shader to be a particle shader, standard unlit. This needs to be cut out this time, so it doesn't work with transparent, but it needs to be cut out for the image. And then I apply the image material to the quad with my image. So it is right here, image material, and then I make this quad also part of the Lincoln image target. So it's a child of that as well. So now let's play this back and then see what we're getting.
You know, and if anything happened to you...
Oops, it's not there.
I don't...
All right, so let's see what happened here. This is my video quad, and so probably since I have two quads, I should keep them apart with their names as well. So the one would be the video quad, and then this is my image quad. Yeah, typo in here. image quad. And what I see here is I actually have never applied my image to the quad. So of course it makes sense that we don't see anything. So I need to actually take my image from here and I need to drag and drop it onto the image quad so that I can use this as the texture. Otherwise it won't really do anything. So now I see the arrow in here and the shader, and now I need to change this again, obviously. So from standard I go to particles, standard unlit, and in here I need to choose as the rendering mode cutout. All right, and so let's try this again.
You know, Ann,
Yes, so
if anything happened to you,
now we have both
I don't think I could
video
live.
and
You know,
still
Ann,
image.
if anything
I
happened
didn't
to you,
check the two-sided property of my arrow. So if you go back and you see down here it says two-sided, if I check this, now I should be able to see it from both sides when the video is playing.
you know, Ann,
Like
if
so.
anything happened to you, I don't think I could live. You know, if anything happened to you, I don't think I could live. You know, Ann, if anything...
All right, this concludes the workshop on integrating video and still images with augmented reality and Vuforia, specifically image target based augmented reality. I hope you enjoyed the workshop and you have already gathered some really amazing ideas of what you would like to do with the same techniques in your own work.